I mean, sometimes you just have to cry, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you missed last week's video, I highly suggest that you go check it out because today's video directly correlates with last week's video. So in last week's video, I showed a real life example of what my bad days look and feel like. I was just performing way below my potential and it took me to a very, very low place. So as promised, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you get through the bad days and what you do when you are at that point. Small disclaimer, in this video, I'm going to be talking about bad days as it relates to sports performance. In this context, I'm going to be talking about the emotions that come with having an off day in whatever sport that you play. Obviously, mine being cheerleading, but of course, it can relate to the sport that you do too. And even if it's something that might not be considered a sport, because, you know, people will try to say cheerleading is a sport too. But if it's something that holds a lot of significance to you that you take very seriously, that can apply to this as well. Furthermore, to go ahead and define bad day or off day is basically what you consider to be below satisfactory when engaging in said sport or craft. So for example, let's say somebody runs track and they want to go to the Olympics for the 300-meter hurdle or something like that. And they're at practice and they keep tripping over the hurdles. If that is considered below satisfactory for that person, they're going to get frustrated because with them having the goal of going to the Olympics, obviously what they're doing is significant to them. So let's talk about how to work through that frustration and any other emotions that may come with having days like that. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing you have to do is cry. I am being like so serious. It is very important that you welcome any and every emotion that you may feel. And if that leads to tears, then so be it. When you let stuff out, you can see and think more clearly. It is extremely important that you be truthful and vocalize how you feel because it is extremely valid. Now, I don't mean like throw a fit when you're in the middle of your practice or whatever. When you get to your car, when you get home to your room or whatever, you have to just let it out and say like, I did this bad, this was wrong. Whatever it is, go ahead and just say it and tell the truth. Because when it is fresh and raw like that, you're conscious of it. That is a very golden time. If you let stuff sit and ignore or worse, lie to yourself, then it'll sink and leak into your subconscious mind, and that is really not what you want. If it leaks into your subconscious mind, not only is it harder to identify what you feel and why you feel it, but it'll be there the next time without you even knowing it, which inhibits you from being in the present moment because you did not truthfully address the situation at hand. Being in the present moment is crucial because that is where your focus lies, which is what you need to perform satisfactorily. So when you are clouded with all these pent up emotions, you're not going to be able to focus or be in the present moment, which is why it's important to just cry it out and let it out and tell the truth. And that's why, like in my last video, I was like, you know, at least I have the truth. I can start somewhere and whatnot, because I was just like, you know, today I suck, and I was crying and I was getting all that emotion out. And that was the first step of me actually getting through it. Another way to get through bad days is, even though what you are feeling is valid, do not equate those things with your physical abilities. For example, so most people walk, right? And so let's say that you just happen to trip and fall. Does that mean you automatically don't know how to walk anymore? No, that doesn't even make sense. So think about it in its most literal sense. If you're doing a skill that you mess up on, does that automatically mean that you cannot do it at all? Like you physically cannot do it? No, that doesn't even make sense. Like I just said, if you happen to trip and fall one time from walking, that does not mean that you don't know how to walk anymore and that your body isn't capable of walking anymore. It is. Like when you think about that in the literal sense, it'll slip you a little confidence too. The reason why this helps me, because there actually was a point in time in my life when I was not physically strong enough to tumble. So if you see my very first video that I ever posted on this channel, I talked about how about a year and a half ago I was very sick and I dealt with like some internal bleeding of some sorts, and I was always back and forth to the doctors and hospitals and whatnot, and it actually did get to a point where I was not strong enough to tumble anymore. Like I wasn't physically capable of actually doing it, and it was very heartbreaking. When I sit and think like I can physically do this, I don't know what my mind got going on right now, but I know I can physically do this. That alone doesn't get me through the bad days, but it does give me some momentum in order to do so. But sometimes I know there can be kind of a rabbit hole with this one, so just bear with me for a second. Sometimes for people, the fact that they know they can physically do it is the very thing that is frustrating them. Back to my walking example. So let's say one day you know how to walk and the next day you just can't. And you don't know why, you just can't. So if you remember in my last video, I mentioned parts of me talking about I don't know anymore, I don't know why I just can't, I just did this many one day and this many another day, and it's just so frustrating. So most of the time this is happening because you're focusing on the actual why that you can't do it, in the literal sense. Your brain wants to know the answer and it will not let you go until it has the answer. It literally will have you in a chokehold until it knows why that you can't do it, because that's what you keep thinking about and you don't understand, and that's why it's not working. When you deal with that, sometimes you have to understand that it just is. Sometimes it just is. You don't always know why. Sometimes it just is. Some days my body just doesn't want to flip through the air. I don't know why. I have no clue. Some days it just is. So if I tell myself I can physically do this and I know I can physically do this, then that chokehold will start to release and my brain will stop being so annoying and wondering why tumbling is even possible in the physics and the science and the aerodynamics behind it. I don't know. So sometimes I just have to be okay, I can physically do this. Brain, shut up, because I don't know why. Let it go and let's just move on. Another way that helps me get through the bad days is to never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, disregard your dreams. Don't let a random off day make you feel like your dream is insurmountable, because your dream is your why. Not the why I was just talking about before, the literal why, but in this sense, the purpose why. Your dream is your purpose, why you're even there, why you're doing it. A bad day can make you feel like your dream is just so ridiculous, and that's why in my last video I was I want to go to the Olympics. That is so laughable. That is so, out of this world, right? Because a bad day can make your dream seem so far, because where you're at now versus where you need to be is a bad day does not mean that you cannot dream big. If you lower your dreams or your standards, then you will have those bad days more often because you're diminishing your why or purpose. If you keep your eye on the prize, then more or less it will put a chip on your shoulder, and if used correctly, it'll accelerate you right on through those bad days and you'll come back on fire. Which kind of leads to my next point. In my mind block video, I very, very heavily talked about how you have to keep coming back and showing up, because it puts your brain in a more positive space. When you quit, then it just kind of shrinks your brain and kind of puts it into this, box. But if you keep coming back, then your brain has no choice but to expand and grow, because it's just okay, well, she's going to do this no matter what, so we have to adjust. So if you say, you know what, truthfully, today was a bad day, and I don't know, tomorrow might be a bad day too, but guess what? I'm gonna keep coming back regardless. So it'll put your brain in a more positive space, because your brain knows you're coming back the next day for a fresh start. And like you've seen in my last video, I was talking about I was going through all that, and I was you know what? Tomorrow's gonna be a better day. I know tomorrow's gonna be a better day, because it can't get no worse than this. I was saying that because even though I had no clue what was going on with me and I had no clue if the next day was gonna be a better day, I just went ahead and declared it because I just wanted to just come back and conquer it. So tomorrow can only be a better day. This only works if you don't wrap your mind around the literal why, not the purpose why, the literal why, and if you are committed to being in the present moment. So with all that being said, it is important that you recognize how much you truly want to be there, because when you have an off day and you keep coming back for more, that is a victory of its own. So even if it's ugly, at the very least, you know that you showed up again, because the bad day did not take your passion, your joy, or your purpose. And if you're at that point, then congratulations, you have made it through the bad day, because you went through all the ugly emotions and you're still standing there with a joyful attitude, because you know that you love what you're doing no matter how how ugly it gets. All right, y'all, I really hope that was helpful. That is just a couple things that I do to get me through my bad days, and I know that everybody is different, so of course it can be tweaked depending on the person. Remember, you got this. You can do this, okay? I know that the bad days can just seem so freaking impossible to get over, and it's just very, very hard, and it's very, very, very frustrating. I know. Just remember to just breathe, cry it out, and work through all those emotions, and tomorrow will be a better day, okay? As usual, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will leave a clickable subscribe button in the bottom right corner of this video, and I will also link it in the description, okay? Alrighty, see y'all later.